Hello everyone, welcome to INSIGHT IAS Academy. I am Rajvardhan and today we are going to discuss a test paper on environment and ecology. So there are 80 questions from environment followed by 20 questions from current affairs. And under environment section, questions are there from various important topics of environment like basic concepts of ecology, different types of ecosystems, biomes, functions of various ecosystems like biogeochemical cycles. Then there are questions from biodiversity and its conservation. Biodiversity and its conservation. Then questions are there from climate change. What are the different initiatives taken for mitigation of climate change, both by India as well as other countries? Then there are a number of questions even on pollution, air pollution, water pollution, then e-waste, solid waste, etc., etc. And then there are questions even from environmental laws. Environmental laws like the Wildlife Protection Act 1972, Biodiversity Act, then Forest Conservation Act, even Water Prevention and Control of Pollution Act of 1974. All those acts, there are questions on those acts as well. So let us start with our discussion of this particular test paper. So first question is, consider the following methods. Which of the methods given above can be applied to correct the salt-affected soils? Right? Salt-affected soils are those soils where salinity conditions are high, and this may be the result of excessive irrigation. So let us discuss the statements first. So what we are supposed to find out? We are supposed to find out methods which can be applied to correct the salt-affected soils. First, improving drainage. So it may be the case that there are more number of salts because of poor drainage in that soil, as a result of which waterlogged conditions are developing in that soil. So if we maintain proper drainage, then we'll be able to improve the conditions of soil as well. Salinity will reduce, right? And that's why first statement is correct statement. Second, leaching. Leaching is also one of the ways of improving drainage, because in leaching what happens, water percolates towards the ground surface, right? And that's why leaching is also considered as one of the measures to correct salt-affected soil. Third is increasing the evaporation. Now this is an incorrect choice. Why? Because if we increase evaporation, then there will be loss of water, but the salts that are present in water will remain in soil. And that's why salinity will further increase instead of reduction of salinity. And that's why third statement is incorrect. Fourth, applying chemical treatments like adding gypsum. Now this is one of the tried and tested methods of improving saline soil conditions. If soil is saline, then we can add gypsum, which is considered as a kind of antidote for saline conditions of soil. And that's why answer of this question is 1, 2, and 4, which is mentioned in option A. Question number 1, answer is A. Second question, which of the following statements regarding grazing food chain are correct? Now what are grazing food chains? Grazing food chains are those food chains that start with producers. At the first trophic level, always there will be producers, and then subsequent consumers will be there, primary, secondary, and tertiary consumers. So always first trophic level in grazing food chains is occupied by producers. Let us consider the statements. First, in all grazing food chains, the first trophic level is always occupied by producers. So that is the definition of grazing food chain. First is correct. Second, herbivores are always placed at third trophic level in a grazing food chain. This is incorrect statement. If producers are there at first trophic level, herbivores will be at second trophic level. And that's why second statement, which says that herbivores will be always at third trophic level, is an incorrect statement. Only first statement is correct, and that's why answer is A, 1 only. Question number 2, again answer is A. Third, with reference to ecological pyramids, consider the following statements. Ecological pyramids are considered as diagrammatic representation of food chain. How energy is transferred from one trophic level to another, that is represented in the form of ecological pyramids. And primarily there are three types of ecological pyramids. First, ecological pyramid of biomass, pyramid of numbers, and pyramid of energy. Let us consider the statements. First, in an aquatic ecosystem, the pyramid of biomass is always upright. This statement is an incorrect statement. Why? Because in aquatic ecosystem, pyramid of biomass will always be inverted, because the biomass associated with phytoplanktons is lesser than the biomass associated with zooplanktons, which is further lesser than the biomass of further consumers. And that's why always we will get an inverted pyramid of biomass in the aquatic ecosystem. That kind of pyramid will be there, where in the first trophic level there will be producers, second trophic levels will be zooplanktons, and then further consumers will be there. So that will be the pyramid of biomass in aquatic ecosystem. First statement, that's why is incorrect. Second, in all ecosystems of the world, the pyramid of numbers is always upright. Now this statement is again an incorrect statement. Why? Because there are different ecosystems where the pyramid of numbers is inverted, right? So the question is saying that it is always upright, but that is incorrect, because in parasitic food chains or in ecosystems where parasites are there, the pyramid of numbers will be inverted. And that's why second statement is also an incorrect statement. Third, in a terrestrial ecosystem, the pyramid of energy is always inverted. Incorrect statement again. Be it any ecosystem, pyramid of energy will always be upright. Be it terrestrial ecosystem, aquatic ecosystem, any ecosystem, always pyramid of energy will be upright, because the most amount of energy will always be there with producers. Fine. So all these three statements are incorrect statements regarding ecological pyramid, and that's why answer is, we are supposed to find out how many statements are incorrect. So all are incorrect, and that's why answer is C, all three. Question number 3, answer is C. Fourth, in the context of causes responsible for coral bleaching, consider the following factors. Now, coral reef formation is a result of symbiotic association between coral polyps and zooxanthellae algae. When there is a kind of disassociation between them, when zooxanthellae algae are expelled by coral polyps, that leads to a condition called as coral bleaching. And coral bleaching is the result of various factors. Question is asking about those factors. First, excessive sedimentation in the reef ecosystem. This is a factor that leads to coral bleaching. Because of excessive sedimentation, sunlight will not be able to penetrate deeper in waters, and that will affect the photosynthesis carried out by zooxanthellae algae, leading to coral bleaching. First is correct. Second, excess nutrients like ammonia and nitrates entering the reef ecosystem. Now this is also considered as one of the cause of loss of or the expellation of zooxanthellae algae by the coral polyps, and that's why second statement is also considered as one of the reasons for coral bleaching. Third, increased exposure to UV radiation. So UV radiations are harmful. So there is excessive exposure to UV radiation that also leads to a kind of dissociation between coral polyps and zooxanthellae algae. And that's why third statement is also a correct statement regarding the factors associated with coral bleaching. We are supposed to find out how many of the above factors are not responsible for coral bleaching. So as all factors are responsible, none of them is not responsible, and that's why answer is D. Question number 4, answer is D. None of them is not responsible. All of them are responsible. Fifth, Read the following statements regarding the powers of the central government under Environment Protection Act 1986. Environment Protection Act 1986 empowers central government to exercise certain powers in order to control pollution in India. So let us consider the statements. First, it can set the standards for the emissions of pollutants from any source. Right? So this is a correct statement regarding the powers of central government. Central government can set standards for various pollutants coming from different sources. And this power on behalf of central government is exercised by CPCB, Central Pollution Control Board. Second, it can lay down the procedures and safeguards for handling hazardous substances. This is also a correct statement because as procedures and safeguards are important for handling of pollution, that responsibility is also with central government. Second statement is correct. Third, it can compel a state government to take prior approval for directing any forest land for non-forest purpose. Now, the question is asking us about the powers of central government under Environment Protection Act 1986. These are the powers of central government under Forest Conservation Act of 1980. And that's why third statement is incorrect. Third statement is incorrect. First two are correct. We are supposed to find out which of the statements are correct. So first and second are correct. Answer is 1 and 2. Question number 5, answer is A. Sixth now, consider the following pairs. So a very simple question. We have these biotic interactions and we are supposed to find out the activities that they explain. So in mutualism, it is matched with both the species are benefited, which is correct. Right? In mutualism, both the species are benefited. In amensalism, what happens? One species is affected negatively and other remains unaffected. And its explanation is that both the species are unaffected, which is incorrect. One species is affected, one is not affected. In competition, what happens? Both the species are at disadvantage. So this is correct. In competition, both the competing species are at loss. Though one species get benefit of the competition, but in order to get that benefit, it has exhausted lots of energy. And that's why it is considered that both the species are at loss in competition. So first and third statements are correct statements, and that's why answer is B, 1 and 3 only. Sixth question, answer is B. Very simple question. Seventh question. How many of the following factors are responsible for desertification? Right? So desertification may be the result of unscientific irrigation practices, because if we carry out unscientific irrigation practices, there will be excessive use of water, and that may lead to conditions of drought, and thus further it can be aggravated into desertification. First statement is correct. Second, overgrazing by cattle is also one of the reasons for desertification. Crop rotation, on the other hand, is not a factor for desertification. On the other hand, we can say that if crop rotation is carried out, desertification can be checked. Fourth, use of organic manures is also not a cause of desertification. So only first two are the causes. We are supposed to find out how many factors are responsible. So only two factors are responsible, and that's why answer is B, only two. Seventh question, answer is B. Eighth. So now based on the explanation, we are supposed to find out the gas explained in the statement. This gas is a lung irritant that can lead to an acute respiratory disease in children, is toxic to living tissues, harmful to various textile fibers and metal. Now, based on this much explanation, it's very difficult to identify the gas. But as it is harmful to textile fibers and metals, we can make sense that which gas they are talking about. So it is nitrogen dioxide which is harmful to textile fibers and metals, and that's why answer should be D, nitrogen dioxide. Question number 8, answer is D, nitrogen dioxide. Further, one more explanation is there, which says that it produces an irritant red haze in traffic and congested places, right? So that is nitrogen dioxide. Eighth question, answer is D. Ninth, With reference to chlorofluorocarbons, CFCs, consider the following statements. So, chlorofluorocarbons are considered as ozone depleting substances and they are being phased out under Montreal Protocol. Let us consider the statements. First, these compounds are highly reactive in nature. So, this statement is an incorrect statement. Why? Because they are used in the various applications like refrigeration, because they are not so reactive. They are not so reactive. First statement is correct. First statement is an incorrect statement. Second, they are non-toxic and non-flammable. So this is also one of the properties because of which they are used in refrigeration industry. As they are non-toxic and non-flammable, they are preferred in refrigeration. Third, these are used in refrigerators and air conditions and in the plastic industry. Correct statement, right? So that is the application of these chlorofluorocarbons. So second and third statements are correct. First is incorrect, and that's why answer is C, 2 and 3 only. Question number 9th, answer is C. 10th question. In the context of sources of energy in the biosphere, consider the following statements. First, sun is the only source of energy for all the plants and animals on earth. Now, this statement though looks correct, it is an incorrect statement. Why? Because for majority of plants and animals, sun is the source of energy. But there are some organisms which are living in the deeper locations of, let's say, oceans. For them, sun is not the source of energy. And that's why for all makes this particular statement extreme statement, and that's why it is incorrect. Second, of the incident solar radiation, less than 50% of it is photosynthetically active radiation, PAR. This statement is a correct statement. Why it is correct? Because all the sunlight that we receive on earth is not used by plants for photosynthesis. Only a part of it is used for photosynthesis, and that part which can be used by plants for photosynthesis is called as photosynthetically active radiation, PAR. But one more thing that is important about PAR is that not all PAR is used by plants. Only 2 to 10% of PAR is used by plants for the activity of photosynthesis. Right? So second statement is correct. Third, plants capture more than 50% of the PAR to sustain all the food chains. Incorrect this statement. Why? Because only 2 to 10% is used by plants for photosynthesis, not more than 50%. So only second statement is correct. We are supposed to find out which of the statements are correct. So only how many statements are correct? So only one statement is correct, and that is statement number 2. Answer is A. Next now, 11th. In the context of environment and ecology, consider the following statements regarding standing crop. Now, what is standing crop? Standing crop is the biomass that is associated with a particular trophic level. Right? Biomass associated with a trophic level is called as standing crop. First statement, it is the total amount of food grains available in a region at a given point in time. Incorrect statement. Right? So very vague statement. Standing crop is biomass, that too of a particular trophic level. Second, it is measured in terms of mass of living organisms, right? So that is a correct statement, because living organisms constitute a particular trophic level, and their mass, that means biomass, is nothing but standing crop. So second statement is correct, first is incorrect. Answer is B, 2 only. Question number 11, answer is B. 12th, consider the following entities. So what we are supposed to find out, how many of the entities given above can be listed as biological contaminants, right? So see, though bacteria are useful, they can also act as contaminants, right? Some bacteria are contaminants as well. For example, Clostridium. Second, fungi they can also act as contaminants. Then pollens, some people are allergic to pollen grains, and that's why we can say that they also act as contaminants. And mites are also contaminants, right? So all of these 4 can act as biological contaminants, and that's why answer should be all 4 mentioned in option D. Question number 12, answer is D. 13th, with reference to the functions / powers of State Pollution Control Board, consider the following statements. Right, so we are supposed to find out functions and powers of SPCB, State Pollution Control Board, and SPCBs are established under the Water Act 1974, and that's why they are statutory organizations. First, it reviews the matters related to the identification and notification of disposal sites. Right, so that statement is correct statement. The identification and notification of disposal sites is by SPCBs. Second, it can cancel the authorization or suspend it if the occupier of the disposal site is not following the provisions of the disposal else. Right, so that statement is also correct. If norms are not followed, SPCB can ensure that the license given to the disposal site is suspended. So second statement is correct. Third, it can issue prohibition orders to the concerned persons from discharging any poisonous or noxious or polluting matter. Right, so that is also a correct statement regarding SPCB. It can issue prohibition order for, let's say, pollution by any person or organization. So all these are the functions of SPCB, and we are supposed to find out correct statements only, and that's why answer is C. All statements are correct regarding SPCB's powers. Next question, 14th. In the context of decomposers and detritivores, how many of the following statements are correct? First, both decomposers and detritivores help in decomposing dead and decaying matter. So, first statement is correct. Second, both get their energy from waste matter. This is also a correct statement. Third, while decomposers actually eat the waste matter, detritivores secrete enzymes to digest the waste. Now, this statement is incorrect. Both decomposers and detritivores actually eat the waste matter, but it is saprotrophs that secrete enzymes to digest the waste material, right? So it is not detritivores that secrete enzymes, it is done by saprotrophs. Fine, so that's why third statement is incorrect. Fourth, detritivores return the essential nutrients back to the ecosystem. Now this is a statement which is more relevant for decomposers, because decomposers, apart from getting food, they also ensure that the nutrients are returned to soil, and that's why fourth statement will be incorrect statement. Only first two are correct, and that's why answer is D, 1 and 2 only. 14th question, answer is D. 15th, read the following statements carefully and select the correct answer from codes given below. First, home range is the area in which an organism lives and finds what it needs for its survival. Right, so this statement is a correct statement. Home range is a kind of, let's say, location where on a daily basis we will be able to observe organism. Right, for example, there is a concept of habitat. Habitat is considered as an address of an individual. Now, in that address of individual, that means in that house of individual, there will be a specific room for that individual where he or she will be identified on daily basis, and that room can be compared with home range. Right, so first statement is a correct statement. Second, home range is purely the geographical area in which it moves about. Right, so this is also a correct statement. Third, both habitat and home range is marked by biotic and abiotic factors of the area. Right, so in environment, home range of a particular organisms can be shared by different organisms as well, and obviously there will be different abiotic factors as well. So all these three statements are correct regarding home range, and that's why answer is, and we are supposed to find out correct statements only, and that's why answer is C. 15th, answer is C. 16th, given below are two statements labeled as assertion and reason. Read these statements carefully. Assertion: carbon dioxide in air is necessary for sustaining life. Right, so it is necessary for sustaining life because photosynthesis needs carbon dioxide. Reason: Carbon dioxide is assimilated as carbohydrates during photosynthesis. Now this statement is a correct statement, but it is a kind of statement which says that carbon dioxide is assimilated as carbohydrates during photosynthesis, which is correct, but it is not explaining why it is necessary for sustaining life. Fine, and that's why both these statements are correct, but R cannot be considered as an explanation of statement A, and that's why we will go with both A and R are true, but R is not the correct explanation of A. That means B. So question number 16, answer is B. 17th, with reference to the importance of biogeochemical cycles, how many of the statements given below are not correct? We are supposed to find out statements which are not correct with respect to biogeochemical cycles. First, it regulates the flow of substances to where they are needed, right? So this is one of the correct statements regarding biogeochemical cycles. They make sure that certain substances, that means nutrients, are made available where they are needed. Second, it links the biotic and abiotic components of ecosystem. Correct statement, because nutrients which are cycled by these biogeochemical cycles are there in abiotic factors, and they are used by biotic factors, and that's why there is a kind of link established between biotic and abiotic factors by biogeochemical cycles. Third, it disallows the transformation of substances from one form to another. Incorrect. In biogeochemical cycles, one form of nutrient is converted into another form of nutrient. For example, atmospheric nitrogen is converted into ammonia, nitrates, nitrites, and that's why third statement is incorrect statement. Fourth, it stores substances in reservoirs and release them in consumable doses, right? So that is a correct statement. There are different reservoirs of nutrients, and from those reservoirs of nutrients, they are supplied to biotic components. So only third statement is incorrect. So we are supposed to find out statements which are not correct. So only one statement is not correct, and that's why answer is A, only one. 17th question, answer is A. 18th, consider the following statements regarding the difference between a national park and biosphere reserve in India. Right, so national parks have statutory recognition under Wildlife Protection Act 1972. Biosphere reserves, on the other hand, do not have statutory recognition. Let us consider the statements. First, while a national park is created to protect the habitat of a species, a biosphere reserve aims to protect an entire ecosystem. Now, this statement is a correct statement. So, biosphere reserves are those areas, those protected areas where we try to balance the conservation needs of environment and developmental needs of human beings. And that's why it takes an holistic approach for the environmental sustainability, right? But on the other hand, national parks are those protected areas where human activities are prohibited. They are created, national parks are created for the conservation purpose. So first statement is a correct statement. Second, while human activities such as forestry and grazing are permitted in a national park, they are prohibited in biosphere reserve. Right? So human activities like forestry and grazing are not permitted inside national park, but they are permitted inside biosphere reserve. So we can say that statement has been flipped. Second statement is incorrect. Only one is correct. We are supposed to find out correct statement. Answer is A, only one. 18th, answer is A. 19th. The products of ecosystem processes are named as ecosystem services. Which of the following are regarded as ecosystem services? Right, so ecosystem services are those goods and services that we receive from ecosystem, from nature. Let us consider those ecosystem services. Soil formation, yes, it is an ecosystem service. Nutrient cycling is also. Habitat for wildlife is also an ecosystem services, and climate regulation is also. So all these are ecosystem services, and that's why answer is 1, 2, 3 and 4 mentioned in option D. 19th question, answer is D. 20th question now. In a situation where the phytoplankton found in the oceans is destroyed completely, which of the following is likely to be its effect? right? So a hypothetical situation has been mentioned where phytoplanktons have been wiped out from ocean. Now what will be its effect? First, it will affect the food chain in the ocean. Obviously, as phytoplanktons are the producers, it will affect the food chain. Second, it will adversely affect the ability of oceans to act as a carbon sink. This is also a correct statement because phytoplanktons, being producers, use carbon dioxide for photosynthesis. If they are not there, that means oceans will not be able to act as a carbon sink for CO2, and hence second is also correct. Third, it will drastically decrease the density of ocean water. Now, drastically is a very extreme term, and that's why we'll not go with this particular statement. We'll consider it as incorrect. So only 1 and 2 are correct, and that's why answer is only 2. How many statements are correct? Only 2 statements are correct. Next question, question number 21. Consider the following statements about Montreux's record. So what is Montreux's record? Montreux's record is a kind of list of those Ramsar sites where ecological characteristic of Ramsar site is not being maintained. Fine. So let us consider the statements regarding Montreux's record. First, it is the principal tool of the Ramsar Convention for highlighting those sites where an adverse change in the ecological character has occurred. Correct statement, right? So Montreux's record includes those Ramsar sites where there are changes in the ecological characteristic, right? It may have occurred, it may be occurring, or there is a chance that ecological characteristic may change. So first statement is correct. Second, Indian sites in the like Kevladev National Park and Chilka Lake are included in Montreux's record. Incorrect. Kevladev National Park is there, but Chilka Lake is not there. Right? Instead of Chilka Lake, there is a Loktak Lake in Montreux's record. So only 2 sites from India, Kevladev National Park and Loktak Lake. Chilka Lake was there earlier, but it has been removed from Montreux's record now. So first statement is correct, second is incorrect. Third, Loktak Lake in Odisha was the first to be inscribed on the Montreux's record. Now, Loktak Lake is not in Odisha, it is there in Manipur, and that's why third statement is incorrect. So, only 1 statement is correct, that means statement number 1, answer is A, only 1. 22. Read the following statements carefully and select the correct answer from quotes given below. Now, the question is on keystone species. So, what are keystone species? Keystone species are those species that controls the characteristic of a particular ecosystem, right? They are vital for the characteristics of that ecosystem. Let us consider the statements. First, keystone species is one that has a disproportionately large effect on the communities in which it occurs. Correct statement. That is the explanation of keystone species. They have disproportionately large effect on the communities in which they occur. Second, keystone species determines the ability of a large number of other species in the community to survive, right? So they will determine the ability of different species in a community, whether they'll be able to survive or not, right? And that's why second statement is also an explanation of keystone species, which is correct. Third, when a keystone species disappears, it can result in migration of other species. Now, this statement is an incorrect statement because when keystone species disappear, what will happen to other species? They will also go extinct, right? They will not migrate, they will go extinct eventually. So, third statement is incorrect. Why? Because it is not migration, it is extinction that will occur with other species. Fourth, starfish is an example of keystone species, right? So, in aquatic ecosystem, starfish is a predator and it will determine which species will be able to survive because the competition amongst the species is controlled by starfish. So, 3 statements are correct. Only third statement is incorrect. Answer is, how many statements are correct? 3. Answer is C. 23. The concept of mega diverse countries is based on certain premises. In this regard, consider the following statements. Fine, so India is a mega diverse country, and there are criterias of mega diverse countries. First criteria is that at least 5,000 plant species should be endemic and country should be associated with aquatic ecosystem. We have both, and that's why we are a mega diverse country. Let us consider the statements. First, the biodiversity of each and every nation is critically important to that nation's survival, right? So a general statement, correct statement. Second, biodiversity is evenly distributed on our planet. Incorrect, right? So there are different areas where biodiversity differs. Third, some of the most species rich and biodiverse nations have ecosystems that are under the most severe threats, right? So because of over-exploitation, those ecosystems are in threat, right? For example, in India as well, Western Ghats are being over-exploited, and that's why they are under threat as well. So third statement is correct. Fourth, to achieve maximum impact with limited resources, conservation efforts must concentrate heavily on those countries richest in diversity and endemism, right? So in such countries which have more biodiversity, if we focus conservation initiatives, we'll be able to get better rewards, right? But those that focus should not be exclusively on such countries, because there will be other countries which are not rich in biodiversity, but they are getting threatened because of human exploitation. So we should focus more on these mega diverse countries, but should not neglect other countries. Then we'll be able to ensure the maximum impact of conservation. So fourth statement is correct. So only one statement is not correct, and that's why answer is A, only one. Right, so only second statement is not correct. 23, answer is A. 24, consider the following methods. Which of the methods given above are most commonly used for ex situ conservation? Ex situ conservation means that conservation which is not carried out in the natural habitat of species. First statement, storage of seeds in banks, right? So that means formation of seed banks, which is a correct ex situ conservation initiative. Second, breeding of captive animals in zoos, right? So correct again. Third, setting up botanical gardens, aquariums and research institutes is also an ex situ conservation initiative. Fourth, setting up protected area is not ex situ, it is an in situ conservation initiative. So first three are correct, and that's why answer is A, 1, 2 and 3. 24th, answer is A. 25th, in the context of HE biodiversity targets, which of the following statements are correct? Now HE targets are adopted in 2010 at Nagoya, right? And these HE targets ensure that biodiversity is conserved for a decade between 2010 to 2020. Let us consider the statements. First, they were adopted by the Convention on Biological Diversity (CBD) at its Nagoya conference. Correct statement. It aims to, second statement, it aims to extend benefits to the state government from biodiversity and ecosystem services. Right, so this statement is not correct statement exactly, because HE action plan is trying to ensure that biodiversity is conserved firstly, right? It is not about extending benefits to state government. Third, its main objective is to improve the status of biodiversity by safeguarding ecosystem, species and genetic diversity, which is correct statement. Fourth, it targets to reduce direct pressure on biodiversity and promote sustainable use. Again, that statement is correct, right? So only statement number 2 is incorrect. First, third and fourth statements are correct. We are supposed to find out correct statements, and that's why answer is B, 1, 3 and 4. Next, 26. Biofertilizers have several advantages over chemical fertilizers. In this regard, consider the following statements. right? So biofertilizers are those fertilizers where living organisms, especially in the form of microbes, are added to soil for ensuring that availability of various nutrients is there in the soil. First statement. Biofertilizers have no toxic effects and no toxic substances get into the food chain, right? So that is why we prefer use of biofertilizers. As they are living organisms, we can make sure that they are not entering into food chain. Second, biofertilizers supply nitrogen continuously throughout the entire period of crop growth, right? So that is also correct statement. Third, target organisms often develop resistance. Now this statement is an incorrect statement, right? Because in biofertilizers, there is no question of development of resistance, because in chemical fertilizers, or because of the use of chemical fertilizers, there may be a possibility of development of resistance against the chemicals. But in case of biofertilizers, there is no question of development of resistance. And that's why third statement, which says that target organisms often develop resistance, is incorrect. Fourth, unlike biofertilizers, continuous use of chemical fertilizers adversely affect the soil structure, right? So that statement is a correct statement. Biofertilizers do not have any impact on soil structure, which is true in case of chemical fertilizers. So how many which of the statements are correct? Statements 1, 2 and 4 are correct. Third statement is incorrect. Answer is C, 1, 2 and 4. Next now, 27. Consider the following substances. Which of the substances given above are examples of persistent organic pollutants, right? So persistent organic pollutants are those substances which are able to stay there in their original form in nature for a longer period of time. That means they are not degraded to simpler forms. And such substances are polychlorinated biphenyls, dioxins, endosulfan and hexachlorobenzene. Mercury is a persistent. It can remain there in the environment, but it is not an organic compound or organic substance. And that's why answer is 1, 2 and 4, only mentioned in option D. Question number 27, answer is D. 28. Given below are two statements labeled assertion and reason. Read these statements carefully. Assertion. Brominated flame retardants, BFRs, are added to consumer products such as mattresses and electronic items, right? So this statement is a correct statement. Brominated flame retardants are used in mattresses as well as the electronic gadgets that we use like mobile phones, etc. So as a result of use of these brominated flame retardants, we can make sure that the products do not catch fire easily, right? So that's why they are used in these products. First statement, that's why is correct. Reason. Brominated flame retardants reduces fire related injury and property damage, right? So this statement is correct statement. As they are flame retardants, we can make sure that they reduce or eliminate the danger of fire related injury and property damage. Both these statements are correct statements, and R is correct explanation of A, and that's why answer is A, right? Because R tells us more why they are being used in these consumer products, and that's why R is correct explanation of A. Answer is A. 29. In the context of forests of India, Devrais, Kavus and Dervara Kadus are sacred groves, right? These are the names used in different states. Devrais is a name used for sacred groves in Maharashtra. Kavus is used in Kerala, and Dervara Kadus is the term used for sacred groves in Karnataka. Fine. So all they are sacred groves. 29th answer is D. 30th question. With reference to Rotterdam Convention, which of the following statements are correct. Right, so Rotterdam Convention was adopted in 1998, which makes sure that the trade of chemical fertilizers, chemical substances amongst countries is controlled, so that the damage that these chemical substances, fertilizers that they cause is reduced. Right. So first statement. This convention covers those pesticides and industrial chemicals that are banned or severely restricted. Correct statement. Right? It is not for all chemical substances or pesticides. It is only for those chemicals and pesticides which are considered harmful. Second, this convention creates legally binding obligations for the implementation of the prior informed consent procedure. This is also a correct statement. Members of Rotterdam Convention have to come to the consent in the form of prior information consent, wherein they will share the information what the chemical is and whether it is a chemical which is harmful or banned by the global community. That information will be shared under prior informed consent. So both these statements are correct statements, and that's why answer is C, both 1 and 2. 30th question, answer is C. Now 31. Which of the following statements describe correctly the roles and functions of the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, that is IPCC? First, IPCC synthesizes worldwide research carried out on climate change. Right? So IPCC was established in 1988 by World Meteorological Organization and UNEP. And the role of IPCC is to gather research that has been carried out on climate change, and based on that try to find out the effects, causes and the strategies that can be used for the mitigation and adaptation of climate change. Right? And that's why it does not carry out its own research, it uses the research of other scientists. Second, IPCC is a panel of climate scientists responsible for conducting original research on climate change. Incorrect. Third, IPCC prepares an annual assessment report on climate change. Again, incorrect. It is not annual assessment report. They do come up with their assessment reports, but it is not annual. These reports are not annual. Third statement is incorrect. Fourth, the IPCC is open to all the member countries of UN and WMO. Correct statement. Right? So only first and fourth statements are correct, and that's why answer is A, 1 and 4 only. 31, answer is A. 32. Ecological sanitation, EcoSan, is a sustainable closed loop system. In this regard, how many of the following statements are correct? Right? So EcoSan is a technique or a process which is used to ensure that the waste that is created in the form of sewage is taken care of. Let us consider the statements. First, it regards human excreta as a resource to be recycled rather than as a waste to be disposed of. Correct statement. Right? It considers human excreta as a resource. Second, it uses water to carry away the solid waste. This statement is incorrect. In EcoSan, there is no use of water. Right? Without the use of water, they try to treat solid waste. Third, it separates urine from fecal matter and uses it as fertilizer. Correct statement. Fourth, it uses dry composting toilets, which is a practical, hygienic and cost-effective solution to human waste disposal. So as there is no use of water, what they use dry composting toilets. Fine. So 3 statements are correct, that is first, third and fourth. We are supposed to find out correct statements only, and that's why answer is C, 3 only. Right? 32, answer is C. 33. So question number 32, answer is C. 33rd question now. Read the following statements carefully about microbial fuel cells. So microbial fuel cells use microbes wherein chemical energy of biomass is transformed into electrical energy. Right? So what microbial fuel cells do? They transform chemical energy stored in biomass to electrical energy. Let us consider the statements. First, MFC is a device that converts chemical energy to electrical energy by the action of microorganisms. Correct statement. Second, it is a bioelectrochemical system that uses bacteria as the catalyst to oxidize organic and inorganic matter. Correct statement again. Third, this cell is used to treat wastewater and generate some energy in the process. Right? So this is also correct statement regarding microbial fuel cells. So all statements are correct. We are supposed to find out how many statements are correct. All three are correct. Answer is C. 34. Read the following statements carefully and select the correct answer from the codes given below. First, so the question is on permaculture farming. What is permaculture farming? Permaculture farming is a sustainable way of agriculture where a kind of natural processes are used for agriculture. Right? So the way crops are growing, they will be allowed to grow without any kind of interference. And that's why it is called as permanent agriculture, and these two terms have been squeezed to form a term called as permaculture. So first statement, permaculture farming discourage monoculture practices, right? So this statement is correct because in natural farming or in nature, it's not that all land will be occupied by same crop. That will not be the case. And that's why in permaculture farming, there is a discouragement to monoculture. Correct statement. Second, conventional chemical farming can cause an increase in soil salinity, but this is not observed in permaculture farming because there is no use of chemical fertilizers. Third, permaculture farming involves close monitoring of pest and disease control. No, in permaculture farming, there is no close monitoring of pest and disease control. Instead, there is integrated use of pest and disease control. Integrated pest and disease control is used, not controlling them. Instead of that, using them in an integrated, that means as it is manner, right? There will not be any kind of intervention. So third is an incorrect statement. Fourth, practice of mulching is very important in permaculture farming, right? So mulching, that means fallen leaves, branches, etc., they will be able to occupy the soil surface, and that practice is important in permaculture because that reduces the evaporational loss of water from soil. So only third statement is incorrect. We are supposed to find out how many statements are not correct, and that means answer is A, only one. 35. In India, the Shola ecosystem is characterized by, Shola ecosystem is found in the southern parts of India, especially in the states of Kerala and Karnataka. Let us consider the statements. First, arid and semi-arid climate zones. Now, this is not a characteristic of Shola ecosystem. Shola ecosystems are there in a kind of wet climatic conditions. Second, growth of trees in the depression and folds of valleys surrounded by extensive areas of grassland. This is the feature of Shola forest. And 80% of these forests, these ecosystems are grasslands. Third, dominance of conifers in areas of dense vegetation. No, dominance by grasses or grasslands is a feature of Shola ecosystem. And that's why only second statement is correct. We are supposed to find out correct statements. Answer is 2. Answer is B, 2 only. 35, answer is B. 36. Which of the following are the major water pollutants? Right, so sediments, yes, they are pollutants. Second, microorganisms, yes, microorganisms are also pollutants. Plant nutrients, if they are there in excessive amount, that may lead to eutrophication, and that's why they are also pollutants. Fourth, radioactive substances are also pollutants. So all these are the pollutants that are considered as major water pollutants, and that's why answer is 1, 2, 3 and 4 mentioned in option D. 36, answer is D. 37. Consider the following statements. First, predators help in maintaining species diversity in a community, right? So that is one of the roles of predators. As they prey on different species, they make sure that there is maintenance of species diversity. Second, biological control of pests in agriculture involves introduction of predators of pests in environment, right? So that is also correct statement, because we sometimes it may be the case that certain predators are introduced in agriculture ecosystem so that they can take care of the pest that is harming the crop ecosystem. Third, nicotine and opium are chemical compounds produced by plants to attract grazing animals. Incorrect. They are produced by plants in order to make sure that grazing animals remain away from them. First two statements are correct. We are supposed to find out correct statements only. Answer is B, 1 and 2 only. 37. 37, answer is B, 38 now. Which of the following species are capable of maintaining their internal body temperature within a range even when the temperatures of their surrounding become different? Right, so this is a kind of response shown by organisms towards changing temperatures in the external environment, and this ability is called as regulation. It is exhibited by birds, it is exhibited by mammals, but plants cannot regulate, and even reptiles cannot regulate temperature, right? And that's why answer is 1 and 2 only. 1 and 2 only mentioned in option A. 38, answer is A. 39. Read the following statements carefully. First, biochemical oxygen demand, BOD, gives the estimate of biodegradable organic matter in sewage water, right? So this statement is a correct statement. BOD is an indicator how much biodegradable contaminants are there in a particular water. First statement is correct. Second, dissolved oxygen remains the same throughout the river irrespective of the point of sewage discharge. Incorrect, right? So when sewage discharge is more in river, there will be change in the dissolved oxygen content in the river ecosystem. So second statement which says that dissolved oxygen remains same is incorrect, right? So we are supposed to find out statements which are not correct. So statement 2 is not correct, and that's why answer is B, 2 only. 39, answer is B. 40. With reference to ecological succession, consider the following statements. So ecological succession is a change in the species composition that occurs in an ecosystem over a time period. Let us consider the statements. First, primary succession is faster than secondary succession. Incorrect statement. Because in primary succession, species or the conditions for the development of pioneer species take more time to originate. And that's why primary succession is slower, not faster than secondary succession. Second, seral communities are in more stable equilibrium with their environment than climax communities. Again, incorrect, because it is climax community where we can see certain kind of stability, not in seral communities. Seral communities are those communities that are occurring between the stages of ecological succession. That means not a final stage has been reached in ecological succession. Intermediate stages are seral communities. Final stage is climax community, and that's why stability will be there in the final community, that is climax community. Second statement is incorrect. Third, bryophytes are pioneer species that invade a bare rock to start the process of ecological succession. Right, so bryophytes do not start ecological succession. They are not pioneer species. It is lichens, mosses which are pioneer species. Once lichens, mosses develop, thereafter bryophytes may occur, right? Not in the initial instance. So all these three statements are incorrect. We are supposed to find out statements which are not correct or incorrect. That means answer is C, all three. 40th question, answer is C. 41. Which of the following best describes the process of homeostasis? Homeostasis is the maintenance of a stable internal environment by living organisms. Answer is B. 41, answer is B. 42. With reference to the Montreux record under Ramsar Convention, read the following statements carefully. First, it is a register of wetland sites on the list of wetlands of international importance. Right? So this statement is a correct statement. Second, it was established by the recommendations of the Conference of Contracting Parties. Again, a correct statement. Third, Gulf of Kutch and Sundarbans are wetlands of India in Montreux Accord. Incorrect. It is Kevladev National Park and Loktak Lake, not Gulf of Kutch and Sundarbans. Third statement is incorrect. First two are correct. We are supposed to find out statements which are, how many statements are correct? So, two statements are correct. Answer is B. 42, answer is B. 43. An algal bloom is a rapid increase or accumulation in the population of algae. In this respect, how many of the statements given below are not correct? Right? So we are supposed to find out statements which are not correct. First, they occur exclusively in freshwater environment. No, they can occur even in aquatic or marine ecosystem. Second, the algal blooms can also consist of non-phytoplanktonic species. This statement is correct because microalga may be there in algal blooms. It is not only about phytoplanktonic species. Third, they are found in water bodies that have excess of phosphorus in water. Correct. So second and third statements are correct statements. First is not correct. So only one is not correct, and that's why answer should be A, only one. Next, 44. In context of the term aquamation, consider the following statements. So aquamation is a kind of alkaline hydrolysis wherein human body, the dead human body will be cremated. Right? So correct statement for aquamation is, it is considered as an environment friendly way to dispose of a human body. 44, answer is B. 45. Ecotone is a transitional area of vegetation between two different plant communities. In this context, consider the following statements. First, ecotone does not contain species that are not found in the overlapping communities. Now, this statement is an incorrect statement because in ecotone, we will be able to find species which are entirely new species, right? And that's why first statement is incorrect statement. Second, it often has a greater number of species than are found in either flanking communities. This is also a possibility. Biodiversity can be more in ecotone, which is a transitional zone between two ecosystems. Third, ecotone only appears where two different land bodies meet. Incorrect, right? Ecotone is also there between land and water. Fine, and that's why third statement is also incorrect. First and third statements are incorrect. We are supposed to find out how many statements are correct. Only one is correct, and that's why answer is A. Next now, 46. Read the following statements about the National Tiger Conservation Authority, that is NTCA. First, it is a statutory body under the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change. Correct statement. NTCA is created under the Wildlife Protection Act 1972, which was amended in 2006. First statement is correct. Second, it was constituted under Biodiversity Act. Incorrect statement. Constituted under Wildlife Protection Act. Third, this organization conducts the country-level assessment of the status of tigers, co-predators, prey and their habitat. Correct statement. So first and third statements are correct. We are supposed to find out how many statements are correct. Two statements are correct, and that's why answer is B. Next now, 47. In the context of process of pyrolysis, read the following statements regarding pyrolysis. Right. So pyrolysis is a kind of chemical decomposition of solid waste to take care of it, right? Wherein solid waste is heated in the absence of oxygen. Let us consider statements. First, it is an irreversible process because it changes both the physical and chemical properties of material. Correct statement. Right? When pyrolysis is carried out, we heat the solid waste, and as a result of that, both chemical as well as physical properties change. Second, Pyrolysis of organic waste leaves a solid residue that is enriched in carbon content and can be used as a fuel. This statement is a correct statement, and that's why pyrolysis is considered as one of the methods for waste to energy. Right? So when we carry out pyrolysis, the organic waste leaves a residue in the form of carbon, and that residue we can use for energy. Second statement is also correct. Third, this process helps in removing organic contaminants from soil and oily sludges. Right? So this is also one of the use of pyrolysis. So all these statements are correct statements regarding pyrolysis. We are supposed to find out how many statements are correct. All three are correct, and that's why answer is C, all three. 48. Consider the following Kyoto Protocol gases, and what we are supposed to find out: arrange the given above gases on the basis of their global warming potential and select the correct answer using codes given below. Right? So these gases have been given which are targeted under Kyoto Protocol. We are supposed to find out what is the global warming potential, and on the basis of that we'll have to arrange these gases in the increasing order of their global warming potential. Right? So what is global warming potential? First of all, global warming potential is the potential of 1 ton of gas to carry out global warming with respect to 1 ton of CO2 in a span of 100 years. Right? So 1 ton of a gas carries out global warming to what extent in comparison with 1 ton of CO2? That is what is global warming potential. So global warming potential of carbon dioxide is least, then methane has more global warming potential, nitrous oxide has even more global warming potential, hydrofluorocarbons have even more, then perfluorocarbons, and then sulfur hexafluoride. And that's why correct order is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6, which is mentioned in option D. Answer is D. 48 question, answer is D. 49. Match the following pairs with reference to bioindicator species and the type of pollution indicated by them respectively. Right? So there are bioindicator species. What do we mean by bioindicator species? These bioindicator species tell us about the pollution, and they tell us about the pollution caused by certain specific pollutants. Right? So let us discuss the question. On one hand, we have bioindicator species, and on other, the type of pollution. So lichens are used for the identification of SO2 pollution. So it should be matched with B. Then juniperus is used for uranium polluted soil to identify whether a soil is polluted with uranium or not. Tobacco is used for ozone pollution, and spinach is used for peroxyacetyl nitrate pollution. So correct answer should be BCAD. BCAD, which is mentioned in option D. So question number 49, answer is D. Right? So if a particular soil, let's say, is polluted by uranium, then in that soil juniperus won't be able to grow, and that will be a kind of indication that soil is contaminated with uranium. Next question. With reference to hope spots, consider the following statements. Right? So hope spots are those spots that are considered as those areas where we can say that conservation efforts can be carried out, and those conservation efforts will be fruitful conservation efforts. Right? So 50th question, with reference to hope spots, consider the following statements. First, hope spots are special places that are scientifically identified as critical to the health of the ocean. Right? So these are especially important for the health of the ocean, and that's why first statement is correct. Second, they are designated for protection under global conservation campaign overseen by a Mission Blue. Right? So there is not-for-profit organization called as Mission Blue, and that oversees this particular initiative of hotspots. Hope spots. Third, Lakshadweep Islands in India are declared as hope spots. Correct statement. So Lakshadweep is one of the hope spot, and also Andaman and Nicobar. So all these three statements are correct statements regarding hope spots, which are important for health of oceans. We are supposed to find out how many are correct. All three are correct. Answer is C. 50th question, answer is C. Now 51. Read the following statements carefully about qualitative pollutants. What are qualitative pollutants? Qualitative pollutants are pollutants irrespective of their quantity. That means even a small amount of that pollutant is released in the environment, it will be harmful for the effects, or harmful for the organisms living in that environment, right? For example, mercury. Even small amount of mercury is a pollutant, and that's why mercury is a kind of qualitative pollutant, right? On the other hand, quantitative pollutants are those pollutants which act as pollutant with increase in concentration, right? If they are there in small amount, they will not be considered as pollutant, but if their quantity increases, they will act as pollutants. Let us consider statements. First, they are substances that are regarded as pollutants when their concentration reaches beyond a threshold level, right? So this statement is not a statement for qualitative pollutants, it is a statement for quantitative pollutants. It is a statement for quantitative pollutants, and that's why it is incorrect. Second, tropospheric ozone is an example of qualitative pollutant. Correct statement. Irrespective of its quantity, it is pollutant, and that's why it is qualitative. Answer is 2 only. Question number 51, answer is 2. Answer is 2 only, that means B. 52. With a strong scientific base, the IUCN Red List is considered the world's most comprehensive and authoritative guide to the global conservation status of biological species. In this regard, consider the following parameters. So, IUCN's Red List is based on which parameters? First, rate of decline in the population size is correct. Second, the current population size is also taken into account. Third, local availability of forage in case of herbivores and prey in case of carnivores is not taken into account. Right? So, third is not the criteria for IUCN's Red List. Fourth, degree of population, that means what is intra-species diversity, that is also taken into account. So, first, second and fourth are the criteria for IUCN's Red List, third is not. And that's why answer is only 3. How many are the criteria? 3 are the criteria. Fine. Next now, 53. Consider the following statements about vermin. So, first statement, vermin are pests or nuisance animals that spread diseases or destroy crops or livestock. Correct statement. That is what is the explanation or definition of vermins. Vermins are those animals which are considered as agricultural pests, or they are also considered sometimes as nuisance animals which may, let's say, create nuisance in the habitations of human beings. They may attack human beings. So those animals will be considered as vermins. Second, once an animal is declared as vermin, the state is no longer responsible for safeguarding its life or well-being. Right? So once a particular animal is declared as vermin, it can be killed. Second statement is correct. Third, classification of an animal as vermin prevents its indiscriminate killing. No, this is not the case. Once an animal is classified as vermin, there can be killing of that particular animal, right? Fourth, classification of an animal as vermin does not have any detrimental effect on the food chain and ecological imbalance. Incorrect. If we carry out indiscriminate killing of vermin, obviously there will be impact on food chain and ecological imbalance will be there. So first two statements are correct, third and fourth statements are incorrect. We are supposed to find out how many statements are correct. So only 2 are correct, and that's why answer is B. Next, 54. In context of the term land degradation neutrality, consider the following statements. Right? So land degradation neutrality ensures that the amount of land that is degraded is stable. It does not increase, it should not, means if it should not increase. If it is decreasing, then it is fine, but if it is increasing, that should not be the case. So land degradation neutrality ensures that there is no increase in the degraded land. stability should be maintained as per LDN. First statement, it is a mechanism in which degraded land is reclaimed by using heavy doses of fertilizers. Heavy doses of fertilizers cannot help us reclaim land. First statement is incorrect. Second, land degradation neutrality is a process by which the effects of land degradation on the environment are neutralized. Incorrect. Not the effects, right? Land is neutralized or land is stabilized. There should not be more degradation. Stability as far as land degradation should be achieved. And once we achieve stability, their effects, positive effects, will be able to see automatically. So focus is not on effects, focus is on land degradation stability. Third, this is a state in which quality of land resources necessary to support ecosystem functions remain stable or increase with time. This is correct statement regarding LDN. Right, so only one statement is correct, and that's why answer is A, only one. 55. Why is the phenomenon of acidification cause of concern? Right, so acidification is increase in pH of, let's say, oceanic water, and this increase in pH of oceanic water has its impact even on the atmosphere. Right, first statement, it will negatively affect the growth and survival of calcareous phytoplanktons. Correct statement. Right, so if more acidic nature is there in water, then the calcareous organisms like calcareous phytoplanktons won't be able to form their shells, and that's why there will be a question mark on their growth and survival. Second, it has negative impact on the growth and survival of coral reefs as well. Correct statement, because the skeleton of corals is made up of calcium carbonate, and in case of acidification there is lack of availability of calcium carbonate. Third, it adversely affects the ability of some fishes to sense predators. Right, so with acidification there will be change in the chemistry of water, and if chemistry of water is getting affected, there will be impact on fishes to identify their predators. Fourth, it has negative effect on cloud seeding and formation of clouds. Now this is also correct. Why? Because it is considered that oceans are important source of sulfur for atmosphere. Right? The atmospheric sulfur primarily comes from ocean, and due to acidification, this accumulation of sulfur in atmosphere reduces, and if accumulation of sulfur in atmosphere reduces, that will have its negative impact on the formation of clouds, and that's why this is also one of the impacts of acidification. So all these four are impacts of acidification, and that's why answer is D, 1, 2, 3 and 4. 56. Which of the following environmental phenomenon takes place as the result of eutrophication on the environment? Right, so the eutrophication carries or occurs in the form of algal bloom, or we can consider algal bloom as a stage for the occurrence of eutrophication. Rise in pH value of ocean water is also one of the effects. Then reduction in water quality is also one of the results or effects of eutrophication. Fourth, increase in percentage of oxygen is not the effect or not the result, rather decrease in oxygen should be the effect. Fifth, new species invasion. So new species invasion does occur because there will be an impact on water ecosystem where anaerobic conditions will be created, and those anaerobic conditions can be favored by some organisms, and hence new species may occur. Fifth is correct. So first, second, third and fifth are correct, and that's why answer is B, 1, 2, 3 and 5. Right, so why new species invasion will occur? Because with eutrophication, habitat will be converted into anaerobic habitat, and there will be some anaerobic species which will prefer this kind of habitat, and thus they will start invading this particular area, and thus new species will also occur. So 56, answer is B. 57, consider the following species. What we are supposed to find out? How many of the given above are examples of invasive alien species? First, seaweeds, yes, they are invasive alien. Water hyacinth also. Fruit bats are not invasive alien species. Needle bush is an invasive alien species and Senna spectabilis is also an invasive alien species. So only fruit bats are not, and that's why answer is 1, 2, 4, 5. That means 4 are the species. Answer is C. 57, answer is C. 58. With reference to carbon dots, consider the following statements. Now this question is more related to science and technology. Right, so we'll discuss this question. First, carbon dots exhibit very different physical and optical properties from quantum dots. Right, so this statement is an incorrect statement because the properties of carbon dots are very similar to quantum dots. Right, only difference is that carbon dots are made up from carbon and quantum dots may have other elements as well. Right, so first statement is incorrect. Their properties are similar. Second, they can serve as nanoprobes for biosensing applications, right? So they can be used. Carbon dots can be used for biosensing applications. Second is correct. Third, carbon dots are less toxic as compared to quantum dots. That is also a correct statement. So only second and third statements are correct. That means 2 statements are correct. Answer is B, only 2. As we are supposed to find out how many statements are correct. Next, 59. Which among the following pollutants are taken into account while calculating air quality index? So while calculating air quality index, nitrogen dioxide, ozone, ammonia are taken into account. Methane is not taken into account. Right? Methane is not taken into account. And other pollutants that are taken into account are PM 2.5, PM 10, then lead is also taken into account, ammonia is there. Then sulfur dioxide is also taken into account and ozone. Methane is not taken into account. Answer is 1, 2 and 3 mentioned in option C. Next now, 60. Consider the following statements. First, biodiversity is normally greater in the lower latitudes as compared to higher latitudes. Right? So in tropics we have more biodiversity. Second, along the mountain gradients, biodiversity normally is greater in the lower altitudes as compared to higher altitudes, right? So as we move up in the hills, biodiversity goes on decreasing. So both these statements are correct. Answer is C, both 1 and 2. 61. In the context of ecosystem productivity, marine upwelling zones are important as they increase the marine productivity by. So upwelling zones, marine upwelling zones are important because they increase the availability of nutrients, right? So first statement, bringing the decomposer microorganisms to surface, incorrect. By bringing nutrients to the surface, correct. By transporting fish larvae away from coast, this is also incorrect. Though they do transport fish larvae away from the coast, but as these fish larvae are taken in uninhabitable zone, they may die, they won't be able to survive, and that's why the marine productivity reduces because of this activity. Fine, so answer is 2 only. Only one statement is correct, and that's why answer is A, only 1. 62. Which of the following can be considered as advantages of seaweed cultivation? So seaweed cultivation can help us get habitat for fish breeding grounds, correct. It can help in production of methane as well, food for humans as well, and fertilizers as well. All these are the advantages of seaweed cultivation, and that's why answer should be D, 1, 2, 3 and 4. 62, answer is D. 63. Consider the following statements regarding the Kigali Amendment to Montreal Protocol. First, it is a legally binding agreement. Correct statement. Second, it aims to completely phase out the use of ozone depleting substances. Now, for phasing out of ozone depleting substances is ensured by Montreal Protocol itself. Kigali Amendment to Montreal Protocol ensures that there is phasing out of hydrofluorocarbons, right? And that's why second statement is incorrect. Hydrofluorocarbons are not ozone depleting substances, they are greenhouse gases. Only first statement is correct, answer is A, 1 only. 63, answer is A. 64. Consider the following statements about the Convention on International Trade in Endangered Species of Wild Fauna and Flora, that means CITES. First, it is a specialized agency of the United Nations, incorrect. right? It is not a specialized agency. Second, it is administered through UNEP, right? So this is correct, right? CITES is administered through UNEP. Third, it aims to ensure that international trade in plants and animals does not threaten their survival in the wild. That is the aim of CITES initiative. So second and third statements are correct. So only two statements are correct statements, and that's why answer is B. 65. With reference to the role of National Biodiversity Authority (NBA) in protecting the Indian agriculture, consider the following statements. So NBA is a statutory organization established under Biodiversity Act of 2002, right? Let us consider the statements. First, it checks biopiracy and protects the indigenous and traditional genetic resources, right? So one of the roles of NBA is to ensure that there is no biopiracy of biological organisms found in India. First statement is correct. Second, it directly monitors and supervises the scientific research on genetic modification of crop plants. That is also the function of NBA. Third, application for intellectual property rights related to genetic/biological resources cannot be made without the approval of NBA, right? So in case there is any patent that one MNC want to file on the biological organisms derived from India, they need approval of NBA, right? So third statement is also correct. So all these three statements are correct statements, and that's why answer is D, 1, 2 and 3. Next, 66. Read the following statements about Cartagena Biosafety Protocol. First, it is an additional agreement to the Convention on Biological Diversity. Correct statement. Second, it regulates the import and export of living modified organisms from one country to another country. That is the objective of Cartagena Protocol. It tries to protect biodiversity from living modified organisms. And in order to protect biodiversity from living modified organisms, what it does, it controls import and export of these LMOs. So both these statements are correct statements. Answer is C, both 1 and 2. 66, answer is C. 67. The Global Environment Facility, GEF, is a financial mechanism for which of the following international environmental conventions? So GEF was established in 1992, and it is a financial mechanism for various international conventions like UNCCD, like Minamata Convention, then UNFCCC, and also Stockholm Convention on Persistent Organic Pollutants. All these conventions can receive finances from Global Environment Facility, and that's why answer is D, 1, 2, 3 and 4. 67, answer is D. 68. Consider the following statements. First, alpha diversity refers to the overall diversity for the different ecosystem within a region. Incorrect. Alpha diversity is a diversity of a particular ecosystem, not overall biodiversity. Right? So first statement is incorrect. Second, beta diversity refers to a comparison of diversity between ecosystems. Second statement is correct. Third, gamma diversity refers to diversity within a particular area or ecosystem. This is an explanation for alpha diversity. So first and third statements, you can say, are exchanged, and that's why both are incorrect. Only second statement is correct, only one is correct, but we are supposed to find out how many statements are not correct. Answer is B, only 2. 68, answer is B. 69. In the context of fluorinated gases, consider the following substances. What are the examples of fluorinated gases? It is hydrofluorocarbons, it is perfluorocarbons, it is nitrogen trifluoride, even sulfur hexafluoride are the examples. Let us consider the statements. First, they are emitted through semiconductor manufacturing processes. Correct statement. What is the source of these fluorinated gases? It is semiconductor manufacturing. Second, they have the least global warming potential of all gases. No, they have very high global warming potential, not least, they have very high. Third, these gases are a cause of concern as they cannot be destroyed by any known natural process. Incorrect, right? When they are exposed to sunlight, they get destroyed, right? And that's why there is a natural process in the form of exposure to sunlight, which can help us take care of these fluorinated gases. So only one is correct, and that's why answer is A, one only. 70th. With reference to mangroves, consider the following statements. First, they are salt-tolerant plant species, correct statement. Second, they are found in tropical regions, that is also correct. So both these statements regarding mangroves are correct. Very simple question. Answer is C, both 1 and 2. 70th question, answer is C. 71. Which of the following are advantages of wind energy over thermal power as energy resource? Right. So question is on advantages of wind energy. First, it is pollution free and environment friendly. Correct statement. Second, no waste material is generated. Correct statement. Third, the maintenance cost is very little. This is also correct statement. So all these are advantages of wind energy over thermal power, and that's why answer is 1, 2 and 3, that is option B, 1, 2 and 3. See, 71, answer is B. 72. Consider the following statements regarding classical smog. Right. So there are two types of smogs. First, classical smog and photochemical smog. Classical smog occurs during winter season, and this classical smog is a reducing agent, and that's why sometimes it is also called as reducing smog. Let us consider the statements. First, it is also referred as reducing smog, correct. Second, it occurs in warm and dry climate, incorrect. It occurs in colder conditions. Third, it is a mixture of smoke, fog and sulfur dioxide, correct statement. So first and third statements are correct, but we are supposed to find out how many are not correct. So only one is not correct, and that's why answer is A, only one. 72, answer is A. 73. Which of the following are considered as the sources of outdoor air pollution? So sources of outdoor air pollution is domestic cooking, right? So it can be considered as an outdoor air pollution source, because for domestic cooking we need these gases like natural gas or let's say LPG cylinders. So these petroleum gases, when we extract them, that may lead to pollution. Right? And that's why it can be considered as a cause for outdoor air pollution. Second, paper industries, yes. Mining activities, methane from animals and decaying organic matters. All these can be considered as sources of outdoor air pollution. So answer should be 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5, which is mentioned in option D. 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. 74. Consider the following organisms. How many of the organisms given above are examples of biopesticides? So mycoherbicide can be used as a biopesticide. Then coccineal insect can also be used. Nostoc and azula, on the other hand, they are biofertilizers, not pesticides. They are biofertilizers. So nostoc and azula we will be able to remove. And auxins, they are kind of, let's say, biochemicals. They are also used to take care of pests. So first, second and fourth are biopesticides. So only 3 is the answer mentioned in option B. Only 3 are the biopesticides. 75. With reference to community forest, read the following statements carefully. First, community forestry program is raising of trees on community as well as private land. Incorrect. Community forestry is carried out community owned land only. It is not carried out on privately owned land. First statement, that's why, is incorrect. Second, in community forestry, government has the responsibility of providing seedlings and fertilizers. Correct statement. Third, under the community forestry programs, services are provided for the entire community and not for any individual, right? So this is also correct statement regarding community forestry, because as the forest is grown on community land, services are for entire community. Answer is 2 and 3. So we are supposed to find out how many are not correct. So only 1 is not correct. Answer is A. Next, 76. Consider the following pairs. So on one hand we have national parks, or wildlife sanctuaries, and on other the animals which are focus areas of those protected areas. So in Periyar National Park, yes, elephants are focused. In Gir National Park, Asiatic lions are focused. In Kebul Lamjao, focus is on Sengai, and in Kaziranga, focus is on one-horned rhino. That's why we can say that third and fourth pair are incorrect. Only 1 and 2 are correct. Answer is only 2 pairs are correct. Next now, 77. Which of the following statements are correct about Chilka Lake? First, it is the largest brackish water lagoon in India. Correct statement. Second, it is the largest wintering ground for migratory birds in the Indian subcontinent. Correct statement again. Third, it was designated as first Ramsar site of India. Now, this statement is also a correct statement, right? So, yes, Chilka Lake was considered as the first Ramsar site. Fourth, it is the single largest habitat of Irrawaddy dolphins in the world. Correct statement. Right, so all these 4 are the features of Chilka Lake, and that's why answer should be 1, 2, 3 and 4 mentioned in option D. 77, answer is D. 78. With reference to the zero budget natural farming ZBNF, consider the following statements. First, this method promotes soil aeration. Right, so this statement is a correct. In ZBNF, soil aeration is promoted. Second, it discourages intensive irrigation and intercropping methods. Right, so yes, it does discourage intensive irrigation, but it encourages intercropping. Intercropping is encouraged, but this intensive irrigation is discouraged, and that's why cumulatively we'll have to consider this statement as incorrect, because it does not discourage intercropping methods, and that's why statement is incorrect. Third, the method of deep ploughing is also encouraged by ZBNF. Incorrect. Right? It is based on zero tillage. Fourth, it promotes the application of Jivamrut. Right? So it is a kind of input that is used in ZBNF. So only first and fourth statements are correct statements, and we are supposed to find out how many statements are correct. Only 2 are correct. Answer is B. 79. The term nationally determined contributions is used in the context of, climate change negotiations. 80th question, last question from environment, and hereafter questions are there from current affairs. So, read the following statements carefully. First, compensatory afforestation means that the user agency pays for planting forests over an equal area of non-forest land every time forest land is diverted for non-forest purpose. So, that is what is compensatory afforestation. Second, the compensatory afforestation fund is used for forest management, treatment of catchment areas, and managing human-wildlife conflict. Right? So these are the purposes for which compensatory afforestation fund can be used. Both these statements are correct. We are supposed to find out statements which are correct. Answer is C, both 1 and 2. Next now, 81. Now these are the questions from current affairs. First, 81. In the context of Hangul, consider the following statements. Right? Hangul is also called as Kashmir stag. First, this species is also known as Kashmir stag and is endemic to Kashmir. Correct statement. Second, this species is found primarily in Dachigam National Park. Again, correct statement. Third, the IUCN status of this species is vulnerable. Incorrect. It is critically endangered. It is not vulnerable, it is critically endangered. So only first 2 statements are correct, third statement is incorrect. And that's why answer is 1 and 2 mentioned in option D. 81, answer is D. 82. With reference to the term Chandrasekhar limit, sometimes seen in news, consider the following statements. First, it is the minimum mass that is theoretically possible for a stable white dwarf star. Now, it is not the minimum mass, it is the maximum mass that is possible for a stable white dwarf star. And that's why first statement is incorrect. Second, any degenerate object smaller than the size of this limit must inevitably collapse into a neutron star or black hole. Again, this statement is incorrect because any degenerate object with which is massive than this limit will degenerate. Fine, and that's why both these statements are incorrect statements, and that's why answer is D. So we are supposed to find out statements which are not correct, and that's why answer is C, both 1 and 2. Not correct is asked. 83. Recently, Kachativu Island was seen in news. This island is located between which of the following countries? It is disputed island between India and Sri Lanka. Answer is A. 84. With reference to Bharat New Car Assessment Program, Bharat NCAP, consider the following statement. First, this program has been introduced by the Ministry of Road Transport and Highways. Correct statement. Second, it is an indigenous star rating system that aims to evaluate the safety of vehicles in the event of a collision. Correct statement again. Third, the program is applicable to all kinds of passenger vehicles. Incorrect. So the program is applicable to those passenger vehicles whose seating capacity is more than 8. So third statement is incorrect, and that's why answer is only 2 statements are correct. Answer is B. Next now. 85. Recently, the Advanced Liquid Processing System ALPS technology was in news. With regard to this technology, which of the following statements is correct? So this technology, Advanced Liquid Processing System, was in news because Japan is trying to release its radioactive water from Fukushima Daiichi in Pacific Ocean. And in order to treat that water, they have used this particular system. So answer is A. It is a filtration process that is used to treat water by removing all radioactive materials except tritium. Answer is A. Next now, 86. With reference to microsite project, consider the following statements. First, these are defined geographical regions where targeted outreach initiatives are conducted to onboard small and medium scale private healthcare providers. Right? So this statement is a correct statement regarding microsite project. Second, these projects were announced by the National Health Authority. Correct statement again. Third, these microsites would be majorly implemented by state mission directors or Ayushman Bharat Digital Mission. Right, so this is also correct statement regarding microsite project. So all these 3 statements are correct. We are supposed to find out which statements are not correct. None of them is not correct. Answer is D, none. 87. Astra missile was seen in news recently. In this regard, how many of the following statements are correct? First, it is an indigenous beyond visual range surface to air missile. Incorrect. It is air to air missile, not surface to air. It is air to air. First statement is incorrect. Second, it is designed and developed by DRDO. Correct statement. Third, it has electronic countermeasure capability, ECCM capability. Correct statement. So ECCM capability ensures that there is a kind of jamming of radars. Right? So it is a part of electronic warfare, and this Astra missile can counter that electronic jamming of various radars. Fine. So that's why it is ECCM capability is there. Third statement is correct. Second and third statements are correct. Answer is only 2. Next, 88. Northern Sea Route NSR is the shortest shipping route for freight transportation between Europe and countries of the Asia-Pacific region. The region passes through which of the following seas of the Arctic Ocean? Right? So, in only Barents Sea is not covered by this Northern Sea route. Otherwise, Kara Sea, Laptev Sea and East Siberian Sea are covered. So, answer is 2, 3 and 4 mentioned in option C. Next, 89. With reference to Mera Bill Mera Adhikar scheme, consider the following statements. First, it is a GST invoice incentive program that offers cash intensive for uploading invoices. Correct statement. Second, This scheme will initially be introduced in all the union territories in India. No, it is being introduced in Assam, Gujarat and Haryana, not in all UTs. Second statement is incorrect. Third, under this scheme, all the invoices issued by GST registered suppliers to consumers will be eligible. This is correct statement. So, only one statement is not correct, and that's why answer is A, only one. 90. With reference to the role of biofilters in recirculating aquaculture system, consider the following statements. First, they are used to remove uneaten fish feed for the purpose of waste treatment. They take care of water, contaminated water, they are not removing the fish feed that has not been eaten. So first statement is incorrect. Second, these filters convert ammonia present in fish waste to nitrate. This statement is correct. Third, they are used to increase the amount of phosphorus in water, which is in turn acts as healthy nutrient for fishes. Now this statement is an incorrect statement because they are not used to increase the amount of phosphorus. Rather, they are used to remove or decrease its amount. And that's why third statement is incorrect. So only second statement is correct. We are supposed to find out how many statements are correct. Only one is correct. Answer is A. 91. Recently, the State of India's Birds Report 2023 was released. This report is released by which of the following organizations? It is released by Zoological Survey of India, Bombay Natural History Society, and even by Worldwide Fund for Nature, India. Answer is 1, 2 and 4 mentioned in option B. 92. In the context of Project Amber, consider the following statements. First, it has been introduced under the aegis of Ministry of Skill Development and Entrepreneurship. Correct statement. Second, the initiative has been undertaken under the Sankalp program. This is also correct. Sankalp program focuses on the women candidates. So both these statements are correct. We are supposed to find out correct statements. Answer is C, both 1 and 2. 93. National Space Day was seen in news recently. This day is celebrated to commemorate which of the following historic events of India? It is celebrate to commemorate the day on which success of Chandrayaan-3 was ensured. Answer is D. This day marks the monumental success of Chandrayaan-3 mission. 94. Consider the following statements regarding Sithakali art. First, it is a traditional folk dance drama that is primarily performed during Onam festival. Correct statement. Second, it portrays the journey from Vanayatra, exile to the forest, to Andardhanam, descent from the earth to Sita, descent into the earth of Sita. Second statement is correct. Third, it is accompanied by instruments such as Ganjira, Manikatta, Chirata and Kaimani. Right? So all these three statements regarding the Sithakali art is correct. So answer is 1, 2 and 3. 95. Read the following statements about National Carbon Registry carefully. First, it is an open source software that allows countries to effectively manage national data processes for trading carbon credits. Right? So this statement is an explanation of National Credit Registry. Second, it has been developed by UNEP. Incorrect. It is developed by UNDP. Third, it has been accredited as a digital public good. Correct statement. So only first and third statements are correct. Second statement is incorrect. We are supposed to find out statements which are correct statements, and that's why answer is 1 and 3, that is B. 96. With reference to somatic mutations, consider the following statements. First, it refers to alterations in the DNA sequence that occur in the cells of an individual's body after conception. Right? So as it is somatic mutation, it is the mutation that occurs after conception. Second, these mutations are hereditary in nature, that is they pass from parents to offsprings. Incorrect. They are not hereditary. Right? So only first is correct, and that's why answer is A, 1 only. 97. Recently, coil guns were seen in use. In this regard, consider the following statements. First, it is a type of electromagnetic weapon capable of launching projectiles with extremely high speed in the blink of an eye, right? And that's why they are called as coil guns, right? So first statement is correct. Second, the projectile used in a coil gun is typically a ferrous or magnetic object. Correct statement. Third, coil guns use gunpowder and as a result combustion byproducts are produced. Incorrect. Coil guns do not use gunpowder, right? They do not use gunpowder. So only first and second statements are correct. So we are supposed to find out how many statements are correct. Only 2 are correct. Answer is B. 97, answer is B. 98. In the context of Fujiwara effect, consider the following statements. First, it is a weather phenomenon that involves the interaction between a tropical cyclone and a high pressure system. Incorrect statement. Fujiwara effect is an interaction between 2 tropical cyclones and there is no involvement of high pressure system, right? It is an interaction between 2 tropical cyclones. First statement, that's why is incorrect. Second, as a result of this effect, events like cyclone orbiting and cyclone absorption can occur, right? So this is one of the correct statements regarding Fujiwara effect. So first statement is correct, second is not correct. First statement is not correct, second is correct. We are supposed to find out statements which are not correct. Answer is A, 1 only, because statement 1 is not correct. 99. With reference to sodium ion batteries, consider the following statements. First, these batteries possess less global warming potential as compared to lithium iron phosphate LFP batteries. This statement is a correct statement. Why? Because these sodium ion batteries considered as having 45% less global warming potential. First statement is correct. Second, these batteries are relatively cheaper as compared to lithium ion batteries. Correct statement. Third, because sodium is more available than lithium. Third, these batteries can be discharged to 0 volts, reducing transportation cost and accidents. This is also correct statement. All these 3 statements are an advantage of sodium ion batteries over other batteries like lithium iron phosphate batteries. So all these 3 statements are correct. We are supposed to find out correct statements. Answer is C, all 3. Last question, 100th. Recently, the prototype of the world's first Bharat stage BS6 Stage 2 electrified flex fuel vehicle was unveiled. With reference to electrified flex fuel vehicles, consider the following statements. First, it is a type of vehicle that can run on either gasoline or ethanol, and that's why they are called as flex fuel vehicles. First is correct. Second, it integrates both a flex fuel engine and an electric powertrain. This is also a correct statement. So both these statements are correct regarding the electrified flex fuel vehicles, and that's why answer is what we are supposed to find out. We are supposed to find out statements which are not correct, but both these statements are correct, and that's why answer should be D, neither 1 nor 2. So that is about this test paper on environment and ecology, followed by 20 questions on current affairs. Most of the questions are on the easier side or on the moderate side, you can say, but some questions you can use as a source of information, right? So that is about this test. Thank you.